What's up everyone, I'm Skratch, welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. In today's video guys, we're gonna talk about 5 epic nukers that are better than legendary and even mythical champions in Raid Shadow Legends. And I might be a simp for some of them because you constantly hear me talking about them, and you know what? I'm talking about them on good reason because they're absolutely amazing guys. I'm gonna start with my most favorite one, and that's going to be Alika, the librarian. And she loves reading, but she loves dealing damage at the same time. And if you haven't used this champion just yet, and you have her available on your account, definitely give her a try because you'll be impressed with this champion. With the A1, attacks an enemy, has a 30% chance of placing an extra hit. This hit is always critical, and yes, the extra hit can come in as a clutch a lot of times. I know she needs a lot of books, you can see them right there. But she's actually amazing. You want to build her on Savage, you want to build her on Lethal, you want to build her on Instinct, you want to build her on Cruel, you want to build her with crit damage sets, whatever you guys have available that might enable her to have high attack, high crit damage, full crit rate, and make the most out of it. The A2 right here, I'm not even gonna lie, is one of the hardest hitting skills in the entire game. High value target, fully booked, will be on a 2-turn cooldown, okay? And this skill has a 6.3 multiplier. Georgid doesn't have such high multipliers, okay? Attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense if their max HP is higher than this champion's max HP. Now, look at her HP, guys, and you're gonna see that everybody's gonna have higher HP than her unless they're a nuker. And if you're hitting a nuker, they don't need to have higher HP because they're gonna be dead meat when you're putting this hit on them. The A3 brings a lot of awesome utility, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance fully booked of increasing the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Very nasty skill. Mini Warlord right here, guys. Deals damage and locks the skills. Now, if you are able to build her with like 200 plus accuracy, she will be bringing you a lot of value. Even if you're not locking their tanks, their support champions, you're locking the nuker, which will give you a chance to survive regardless of whatever they have planned in there. And the passive, if she's together with her sister, she's gonna revive with 75% HP basically. Now, let me just quickly show you the multipliers on this champion, and trust me when I'm telling you that there are not many legendary champions in the game that can compete with Alika. Of course, they are the top 10, top 15 nukers that are legendaries in the game, which are super OP. They're kind of like a different level. You have the empowerment for legendaries. That's why the epic champions are kind of like downtrending, mainly because they have no empowerment. So hopefully Clarium one day will bring empowerment for epic champions. But Alika on the A1 has a 4.2 attack multiplier, guys. You know what that means? Barely any champions have something like that on their basic skill, and that multiplier right there is a multiplier that most of the legendary nukers have on their best skill, not on the A1. For example, let's just take this new addition to the game, which is Vitreous, right? Super OP Void legendary. His multiplier on the AoE attack is 3.0. 3.0, guys, okay? Very, very weak. And look at epic champions that are just putting these legendaries to shame, man. You know, I wanted to do this video for quite a while now, and this Vitreous just kind of like lit the fire under me, and I was like, let's do it. The A2 on a 2-turn cooldown, 6.3 attack multiplier. Is true, epic champions have lower stats than legendaries, less attack, but you know what? The multipliers are making it up for it by a mile. And then you have the A3, which is the AoE attack, 4-point attack, guys, okay? Foley has a 4-point attack. Astrolon has a 4-point attack on their AoE attacks. Let me just put it like that. Make it a bit more clear so you guys know what I'm talking about. Blood Twin Initwi, Void Legendary, has a 3.6 multiplier on his AoE attack. Weaker than her. And even though he has more base attack, she's gonna hit harder than him because of the better multipliers. But you know what? Let's move over to the next champion, and this again is going to be one of my most favorites. Very similar with Alika, Durandil. Probably you've seen me comparing him with Vitreous in the video where we actually had a look at the Void Legendary. Durandil, unlike Alika, he has a different thing in his kit. So with the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times, he has a chance to land a freeze. With the A2, attacks all enemies and will ignore defense on the AoE skill, which is very, very nice. His multipliers here are slightly lower than Alika's, but he ignores 15% of the target's defense and fills the champion's turn meter by 10% on each critical hit on a 3-turn cooldown, allowing you to quickly move back to some turn meter, gaining 40%, potentially 50% turn meter on your hero. Again, all these heroes, you want to build them in the exact same way you want to build Alika. Savage, Lethal, Instinct, Cruel, crit damage, Attack, Fatal, whatever you guys have that allows them to deal damage. The A3 attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense, and places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns if the attack is critical. Now this is on a 4-turn cooldown, unlike Alika on a 2-turn cooldown, and perfect veil is nice to hide this champion from the enemy nuker. So you would want to open with this skill, hit your crit, maybe kill somebody in the process, stay veiled, and then move over to the AoE and smack. Crit rate aura for all battles as well, because why not? And if we're actually going to have a quick look at the multipliers, right here, we're going to see that on the A1, he has a 1.8, but it's a double hit. Now, Alika has a chance to proc an extra hit, and the multiplier is a 4 point. Okay, crazy. Then right here on the A2, he has a 3.9 multiplier, guys, and ignores defense. Okay, Alika has a 4 point. A lot of legendaries have a 4 point on the AoE, and they don't ignore defense, and their damage is way more underwhelming than these champions' damage, you know, even mythical champions. Okay, I want to point that out to make sure it's crystal clear. Then the A3 has a 5.8 attack multiplier. What about if we are gonna have a look, for example, at Georgid multipliers, right? Let's see, what are we getting? What are we getting for Georgid? The A1 has a 1.7, okay? Then on the AoE attack, he has a 4 point. Of course, Georgid has higher base attack, ignores 50% of the target's defense rather than 15%. So he will deal a lot of damage, but just kind of like to have an idea of multipliers. Then the single target is a 5.7. On Durandil is a 5.8. So this just shows you Georgid is one of the best champions in terms of raw damage in the game. And these epics are getting very close to his level in terms of multipliers. Of course, the base stats and the skills are different, completely different, but just as an idea. Moving over to the next champion, and if we would have empowerment in the game for epics, this would still be the second best HP nuker in the game after Taras. And of course, is no one else but Magnar. Now he has some of the highest multipliers out of all the legendary champions that are dealing damage based on HP. Unlike defense champions and attack champions, you cannot increase the damage that he deals, but you cannot decrease the damage that he deals either. Like, there is no decrease HP or anything like that to decrease his damage. With the A1, attacks one enemy, has a chance to land defense down, which is not really important. Fairly decent damage from here. This skill right here attacks all enemies. Places an extra hit on enemies without HP burn debuffs. And the multipliers on this are actually pretty good. Most of the legendary nukers in the game, HP legendary nukers, they have the same multipliers on their skill like Magnar, and they hit once. He hits twice. Okay, the A3 attacks one enemy, applies a debuff spread effect, taking 2 random debuffs from the target, placing them on all the enemies with HP burn, which again is not going to be the main thing that you care about. You want to get damage out of him, and a Savage set or a Lethal or an Instinct can go with a Speed, can go with an Immortal, can go with a Resilience, anything that will give you more HP on him to make sure you're smacking. Crit damage, for example, another set that works well. Passive, pretty irrelevant too, we don't care about it. The aura is for the Doom Towers, and yeah, no debuff to affect his damage, guys, which is absolutely insane. And talking about multipliers on Magnar, actually, let's just quickly check. And we're going to compare it with other HP based nukers. So on the A1, he has a 0.23 HP. On the A2, a 0.22. And on the A3, a 0.37. Now, for example, let's just take this. We want to see multipliers for Samson, right? What does Samson have? So Samson, on his A1, has a 0.12, but attacks the enemy 2 times. Magnar is at 0.23 with 1 hit. So it's very similar, right? Double hit, single hit. Then he has a 0.29 on the AoE, which is pretty nice actually from Samson. But then Magnar has a 0.22 double hit, right? Which out damages Samson by quite a lot. On the other skill, he doesn't have a multiplier. But for example, let's just think of a different HP based nuker that they try to kind of like put in game. And let's just check out Sir Nicholas, for example, right? He's a pretty good hero, and he was dealing decent damage with a AoE attack. I haven't used him in a long time for damage, but let's check the multipliers. So on the A1, he has a 0.28. He actually wins here compared to Magnar. On the A2, he has a 0.25. A single hit. 0.03 more than Magnar. Avoid legendary champion. So it's pretty damn crazy actually thinking about it, right? And I feel like we have some mythical heroes too, but I forgot their names, so it's gonna be hard for me to find them, you know? Moving over to the next champion that I have on the list, guys. We have 2 more left, and my opinion is that Gamboa is better than so many legendaries. Why? Because he can ignore unkillable, he has a speed aura for arena battles, with the A1 attacks 1 enemy 2 times, each hit steals any increased attack buff. Each hit also has a chance to steal a random buff. The increased attack buff still cannot be resisted. So if I need increased attack, I'm gonna take it from you. The A2 attacks all enemies. Has a 100% chance fully booked of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted on critical hits. You don't need accuracy, and it's gonna be on a 3-turn cooldown. You can decrease the cooldown on any buffs whatsoever on the enemies. He does have fairly decent stats as well, pretty good attack at 1400. And the creme de la creme is that he buffs himself with crit rate and crit damage and grants an extra turn, which means that you can build him with 70% crit rate and get massive value out of this champion, man. The passive, immune to decreased attack debuffs, and will ignore unkillable when attacking under increased attack. What else you want from an epic champion? My god. Foley, Astron, and the rest of you, just run away. Run away because Gamboa the Dishonored is coming to take your throne. So if we're checking his multipliers. So Gamboa right here on the A1 that attacks twice has a 2-point multiplier, which takes it up to 4 basically. And the AoE has a 4-point multiplier. Now, of course, if we're talking again about the same champions that I just mentioned, Foley multipliers, right? The thing with them is that they all bring their own utility. Foley brings block revive, and that's very, very nice, okay? And again, this multiplier is a 4-point. He does have higher base attack too. Astrolon, for example, brings stun. And there are other champions that they don't come to my mind right now that I'm not naming. Innate with Bloodwind brings block revive as well. So it's kind of like, what do you want to get? But his damage is way, way less than Gamboa's damage, okay? So keep that in mind. And how you may see right here on the top of the list, the next champion that I have on the list for the last 5th champion better than legendaries and mythicals in Raid Shadow Legends, guys, is gonna be no one else but Gala Longbraids. And I know there are other ones that are better than legendaries, and I'm not naming in today's video. So please let me know in the comments down below what other epic nukers you think are better than legendaries. Of course, I do have the 6th one, which is the bonus one, but Gala Longbraids, guys, will be absolutely insane as a single target DPS. Now, truly, the reaction, the stone skin kind of like killed all the vibes of most of these champions. But with the A1 attacks 1 enemy 2 times, ignores defense. With the A2 attacks 1 enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense. With the A3 attacks 1 enemy 3 times, will ignore defense. Attack aura for all battles. Void epic champion. 1432 attack. Yes, her defense is trash. It's harder to keep her alive, but it's the same for all the regular attack nukers that don't have something crazy in their kits, you know? So keep that in mind, man. Gala Long Braids, she's an absolute hidden gem. And let me quickly show you the multipliers, just so you have kind of like an idea compared to the others. On the A1, which attacks one enemy 2 times, is a 1.7 multiplier. Godlike, right? On the A2, which is a single hit, is a 4.7. Now, when you compare this with champions like Alika or Durandil, it's not as powerful, you know? But then everything else in her kit ignores defense, which is very powerful. Before, when I used to run her in arena as my main sniper, I used to kill 2 tanks with her, okay? I used to kill a Duchess and I used to kill an Ursaga. Or I used to kill other champions like that, Tormin and Duchess. Whatever things they had in there, you were able to kill 2 of them. And it's mainly because of the A3 granting an extra turn. So the A3 has a 1.6 multiplier, but attacks one enemy 3 times, you know? Great to kill Rotoses, great to kill a lot of different champions in the game. And we're done with multipliers and the rest. Of course, there is no better than legendaries video that cannot include Seer, guys. Because you know what? She's so unique, one of a kind. Yes, Taras has a very similar thing with her Karma Burn, where they deal damage based on the buffs for the entire team. But this Karma Burn right here is one of the hardest hitting skills in the entire game. Hands down, guys. So this will be all for the video. How I mentioned, if you think that other epic champions that are dealing damage are worth being in the topic better than legendaries and mythicals, let me know in the comments down below. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all soon in the next video. Peace.